waive your grades at the brave who fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. I said, in this parade, please waive your grades at the brave who fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. You make this parade a mere charade if you're marching just for fun. Our troops must feel your thanks for real before the marching is done. They know side by side you can match their stride to the drum beat and the brass, but they're not impressed with you unless you can match their stride in class. This may not sound too diplomatic, but I cannot be more emphatic as I tell you, it's problematic when you do less than your best, especially when it's because you put your brilliance on pause for the mere peer. Thank you, and welcome once again to Waive Your Grades. We are on KUAW, KUAW.org. Oh, and by the way, Louis George Walker, founder, executive director, CEO of KUAW, will have some additional directions for those who listen to the program and observe the program. We'll talk about that later. But my name is Carl Boyd. I'm a civilian. Today, I'm introducing myself because our producer and engineer, co-host, DeQuay Wilson, is having a vacation in the Bahamas. Oh, wow. So I get the opportunity, I guess, the tour of duty to introduce the program this morning, praying that DeQuay Wilson is having a wonderful time. But Louis George Walker, this is a singular pleasure on this day because I get to invite and introduce Ina Montgomery. And the reason I talk about the honor and the pleasure is I don't repeat often enough, Ina Montgomery, that you were one of the founders of the Generation Rap, and we don't talk about it often. We don't talk about it publicly. Brother Louis George Walker, I don't know if I've mentioned that in front of you before, but let me just put it this way because I'm doing a poor job of the appropriate introduction. I'm going to ask Ina Montgomery to introduce Ina Montgomery to us, and then we'll talk about the importance of education on Waive Your Grades. Ina Montgomery.
Well, good afternoon, Mr. Carl Boyd. Good to be here with you.
Thank you.
And
Thank
so
you.
I remember 5501 Swope Parkway when I was doing tutoring with the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center when
right.
Bill Grace had kind of just still gotten started. I can't remember how many years he had been in that building.
Right.
But I was one of the tutorers.
Yes.
And you and I had a stairway meeting. And I was just saying, you know, these kids need an outlet. They need something to talk to. You know, they're carrying so much. And they need an opportunity to get it out.
Yes.
And you were like, well, how would that look? I was like, I don't know. I'm just thinking, you know, as I see these kids when they're coming into the center, and then it just went from there. It just, you know, we had that conversation, and then we put it together.
And St. Andrew's United Methodist Church.
Yes.
You were a member. Tell me about that.
So I was a member of St. Andrew United Methodist Church, grew up there with Reverend John Presipes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he was before Omi Nels.
Oh, most def.
Yes.
Yeah. So Reverend John Presipes, his wife Ladora, they adopted Joy Presipes.
Yes.
And Bill Grace then had asked Pastor Presipes, you know, hey, we got these classrooms upstairs.
Okay.
They're not being utilized. Is that, you know, I've got this vision for a tutoring program. Would that be possible? And of course, Pastor Presipes said yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? That is most interesting. So you have a lot of authentic history in Kansas City, Missouri. Have you written, do you have a book or two or something that
I have a
done?
children's book that I need to focus on to get published. I wrote that when I was doing my master's program, and I'm glad you mentioned that. So it's an opportunity because slavery is such a heavy subject, and especially for our kids, they don't want to be enslaved. They don't want any affiliation with slavery.
Right.
And so when I got my master's degree at University of Virginia, kind of home, if you will, of Thomas Jefferson. I had a chance to really do some deep dive studying of slavery, the contribution of slaves who built the University of Virginia and Monticello.
Come on.
And so what I determined, and I'm sure other people know, but although they were enslaved, they were still families.
Yes.
There was still the mother.
Yes.
There was still the father. They still had chores. They had their own gardens. So when the parents went to Monticello to work during the day, the fathers would go into the joinery. Furniture at that time was joined together.
Wow.
There was no glue.
Look
there were
at
no
that.
nails.
Come
there was
on.
nothing. So it's referred to as the joinery. So that's where the men went, and then or the field, and then the women either went to the house or they went to the field. The kids then went to, quote unquote, the babysitter, who's usually an older black woman who was tired. She was already retired, and so that's where they would go during the day. Then after the day was over, and this is research that I did, so a lot of this is factual. So the parents, after they got through working, would go pick up their kids. They would go to their small little cottage, no bigger than this space right here, but it was their home, quote unquote home.
My goodness. Go ahead.
And then they had their garden, so the kids had to do their chores. Somebody had to go to the water pump to pump the water. Somebody had to go pull the vegetables that they were going to have for dinner. The mom would make the dinner. The kids would help. And then they would, talk as a family.
Yes.
And then they go to bed and do the same thing the next day.
Now, how often and under what circumstances do you get to share this with young people? This is
Well, that's my book. So the book is
outstanding.
the book provides an instructional information for teachers to talk about. The name of the book is called Day with Edie.
Oh.
And so Edie is an 8-year-old girl of the
Okay.
family, and she is kind of like it's from her voice. Like, we do this, my mom and dad, they do that. We have to do our chores. We have to do this. My brother, Davy, so it goes through her perspective.
My goodness. And it's interesting because as much as I might even think that I know about Ina Montgomery, this is new to me. And let me tell you a particular pleasure that I had, in May of this year. I had the opportunity to interview Archie Williams before he passed recently. And during the interview, and as you know, you say Archie Williams or Leon Dixon, you're talking history. I mean, I always say about Leon, catching Leon without a book is like trying to catch fish without a hook.
Right.
But Archie Williams placed a great deal of emphasis on the 1619 Project. And when I hear you sharing our history in that way, not only is this something I would suspect that young people would be interested in, interest is one thing, but critical importance is another, and this is extremely important.
Yeah.
So please, how long do we have to wait? What are you looking at as a
I just need to,
timeline?
the University of Virginia Black alumni have their a weekend every other year. So it's coming up. So we didn't have one this year, so we'll have one in 24. And it's April. I just got the email the other day. It's April 24. I've been attending now for the past, I think, 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
And my goal is to have the book ready at the reunion. So that's April. So I'm gonna, and the thing is, it's beautifully illustrated. I found actually a black artist in Charlottesville who did the illustrations.
Yes.
And we're talking since 1995.
You have gotten around.
I have got to. God gave me that, and I've got to get it out there.
Outstanding.
So I'm looking for a new illustrator, and I've got a couple of resources, and so I want the illustrations, which are beautiful, to be similar but a little bit different.
Okay.
So that's and then she did them in charcoal.
And do you have a publisher?
I don't.
Okay.
So people have told me to self-publish, or if you've got information, let me know.
Michelle Gines.
Yeah.
Michelle Gines is the
Okay.
executive director of Purpose Publishing.
Okay.
She is an African-American female publisher, so I would be enthusiastic about you guys getting together.
Okay.
And this is interesting because my personal prejudice is to talk about G-rap and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But as it relates to nomenclature, a title, or what you are currently doing,
Mm-hmm.
how about those things? And are you a classroom teacher, counselor, mentor, consultant?
I refer
Describe
to
for
myself
us.
as an educator trainer.
Yes.
And so I've always been interested in the intersection, if you will, of my two interests, technology and Black history.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
as a result of that, I created Culturally Steamed. And so I've had an opportunity last
Ooh.
fall here at the Learning Center, funded by the AT&T Foundation,
Yes.
to do workshops with it's a K through 6 academy, and the kids come in,
Yes.
they learn about a Black person. And then we do an activity related to the invention or the contribution of that Black person in STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, or math. So, for example, they learned about George Washington Carver's life. And so then what do? We made peanut butter.
Come on.
So I bought the peanuts, I bought the food processor.
300 products made out
Oh
of
my God.
peanuts.
And they learned those. So they're learning the facts. They're
You
going to walk
see?
away with the facts about George Washington Carver. He was born, well, I'm sorry, not born, but he was, there's the first National Park Service monument by the National Park Service was to George Washington Carver in Diamond, Missouri, which is on the other side of Springfield.
Okay.
And so I've had an opportunity.
Okay.
They do a big birthday celebration of him every year. I've had the ability to go down there for 2 years, and I wanted to take a busload down this year. Just couldn't quite make it happen because I had so much going on. But I have parents who are interested, so we will definitely be doing that next year.
Listen, Ina Montgomery.
Yes, sir. It's Ina P. Montgomery. You know,
I'm
you got to
sorry,
slam that
Phyllis.
P. Right, exactly. P for Phyllis. Go
That's
ahead.
exactly
You've known me that
right.
long.
Exactly.
You've known me that
Thank
long.
you so very, very much. But I want to continue to repeat that very important name. And as a matter of fact, maybe I'll do it now. I was going to do it later. As it relates to what you're doing, services you provide, your presentations, what is contact information for Ina P. Montgomery?
Yeah, so that's going to be phone number 816-866-6340.
Okay.
And then they can send me an email as well at connect, CONNECT, at urbantech, URBANTEC.org. 816-866-6340. Ina P. Montgomery. See, you see, when you put the P in there, it kind of rhymes.
Yeah, now you're talking.
You see?
And that's what I met you as. I don't know why I started just saying Ina Montgomery, because Ina Phyllis, as a matter of fact, Phyllis was even more prominent in my introduction of you to someone else. But let me tell you why to me what you're saying is so important. I started teaching on the south side of Chicago in 1964. My first school, Douglas Elementary School, was 99.7% black students, and I was teaching 7th and 8th grade science. Please understand, in 1964, they called me a militant teacher because I had the audacity to put science, technology, and black history together.
Yes, sir.
And there were those who felt that there was not a connection. So they don't know what the real McCoy means.
Literally. Yeah.
Now, here we are in 2023, and you are negotiating this landscape. What is it like, not just helping young black students to appreciate, but educators and others in 2023 to understand the importance of that connection?
It's getting the parents on board.
Ooh,
because some parents
come
get
on.
it and they're like, I appreciate this. Our kids, our history is not being taught in schools. And we already know we've got
Come
the
on.
states, Florida, Texas, trying to erase,
Can you
doing book
imagine?
bans.
Yes.
But don't sleep on Missouri, because
Thank you.
Parsons is doing his share too of book banning.
And don't forget Missouri history as it relates to slavery.
Last state to free the slaves.
My goodness.
So we got all this residue going on
Okay.
that we need to address, and so we
Yes.
need to understand parents and the kids who are with me. In fact, I've got two parents like, when are you starting back up? They're
Yes.
excited when you starting back up, and I'm sorry that the woman's name is not coming to me, but one of the activities that we did, I introduced them to the black woman who helped with a heart pump.
Yes.
And what did we do? We created a heart pump. Mason jar, some red food color,
Come on.
a balloon, and 2 straws. And then you push down on the red balloon, and the red food dye comes out of one of the straws. And you talk about, these kids just have such a good time, because our kids are creative.
Yes.
Our kids are innovative, and they have great minds. And so I think in the public system and in other areas wherever they go to school, that's not being tapped into. And so when they come here on Saturday, they're looking forward to, the parents who are engaged are saying,
Yes.
our child
Yes.
is looking forward to come in on Saturday because I'm doing something different. Where, I'm.
Oh,
and,
that
and,
is
and
so
then,
important.
Another part of the program is reading comprehension. So I will show them a 2 to 3 minute video to introduce whoever I'm talking about that day, George Washington Carver, whoever. They have to tell me one thing they heard in that video. And again, we're talking K through 6.
See, that is
primarily
so
K
wonderful.
through 4.
Yes.
I need one thing from each person.
That
So
is-
if somebody, well, he took what I was going to say. Okay, well, then I need something else from you. Well, I can't remember. Okay, I'm going to re-show this video,
Now.
and you're going to pick
Come
up
on.
one thing.
Yes.
And so with one of the kids, he wasn't getting it. So I told his mother, 3rd grader,
Yes.
he does not have reading comprehension. I'm showing videos, and he cannot repeat anything. And she said, "Thank you. I'll work on him with that."
Okay.
I've not seen her in a couple of months.
All
I
right.
saw her seriously, and I know when I hear sometimes people give testimonies, I'm like, "Does
Yeah.
that really happen?" This really happened. I saw her about 5 weeks ago. She said, "Miss Montgomery, thank you," or Miss Ina, because I go by Miss Ina.
Yeah.
You told me what my son needed to work on. He's doing so much better in school because he wasn't paying attention. She said, "So you told me what I needed to work on with him. I started working on with him. He's much better now."
Do you know Millis Doc Bass?
I don't.
He writes a column in the Call paper. He is Minister
Okay.
Millis Doc Bass.
Mm-hmm.
And he and I have done some work together with young people. But I quote him often, and his photo should appear just above these words:
Okay.
the relevance of intelligence.
Mm.
When Millis Doc Bass said that, and it's been a couple of decades now,
Mm-hmm.
it really helped me to understand and approach not only from an Afrocentric perspective with our young people,
Mm-hmm.
but to whomever is learning something. The relevance of intelligence.
I like that.
Research
Yeah.
has taught us as educators that we learn better and retain longer when we feel that what we are learning has something to do with our own lives.
Exactly.
That it is relevant.
Yeah.
So when you put it that way,
Mm-hmm.
and they get an opportunity for interactive learning,
Mm-hmm.
that has got to help these youngsters way beyond simple information.
Exactly.
So the application of the information, Ina P. Montgomery, we thank you.
Thank you.
Now,
Well, our kids are kinesthetic learners.
Come on.
We're
See?
some of us are audio, some of us are visual, but we learn, because I can go back that next week and say, now, what did we learn last week? Somebody, you tell me, what did we do last week? What did you learn about? And they're answering and I'm like, oh my gosh, Miss Ina's so happy.
see, a lot of people do not get the opportunity to work with young people, and we have something called standardized test scores. And not only young people, 3rd grade reading scores and their implications for life, but this also pertains to those who are older, when you are talking about the application of the things that they are learning and the way that they are learning what they are learning, it also holds true for those of us who are older.
Right.
That we can apply what we are learning to something. And therefore, you know people who use this expression, I don't test well. Now, there were educators before the 1970s who thought that was an excuse.
Right.
It turns out that there are some young people who look like you and me who will do something on this paper and it's almost unintelligible. And we sit down and talk to them and they tell us the whole story. And their degree of understanding is so much greater. But I'm older than you.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. So let me tell you what we were reconciled to and why this is so important to me. And I'm sorry because this is your interview, not mine. But I just want to say this. In education, we really did not study multiple intelligences until the 70s. Do you know, and I was so glad that you mentioned this, that prior to Mortimer Adler, the Patea program, and all of that, if we had a child who was, quote, kinesthetic, unquote, we called them rambunctious. They were bad. They were slow learners. They were unintelligent because we didn't know that there was visual learning and there was auditory learning.
Right,
and
right.
most particularly kinesthetic.
Exactly.
How do you help them overcome that, Ina P. Montgomery?
I don't know. Mr. Boyd, there's been enough research out there, and at some point you have to, unfortunately, accept people choose to pick and choose the information that they apply. And when they know this particular group, let's say black boys, are better as hands-on, well, we do visual, we do auditory, we don't really do hands-on. So you're crippling them because you're not teaching them the way that they're learning.
Exactly.
Or the way that they can best learn.
Exactly.
And so to me, that's, I don't know, I got nothing else because as you're saying from 1964.
Yes.
Leading up to 2023,
come on,
education should have figured this out by now.
You would think. And I hadn't mentioned tactile because
that's true.
And what you are doing for them, and tell us a little bit about that as it relates to their experiences. You will certainly recall this, that we always talked about STEM subjects, science, technology, engineering and math. So why is art important?
Why is what?
Art important.
Oh my gosh,
art is a STEM subject.
Yeah. So some people do STEM, and I made, when I first came out, the conscious decision after research to do STEAM. It just makes sense.
Thank you.
You've got the Plaza Art Fair this weekend. There would be no Plaza Art Fair if we did not promote the arts.
Come on.
And so, and I don't know what side, left side, right side of the brain, and I have the visuals in my head, but I can't think of it right now. But it's that side of our brain that we need to use. It's sitting there.
And the right side is artistic, left side is logical.
Okay, thank you. Right, so we have to exercise that muscle because the brain is a muscle.
Yes.
It's just sitting there,
come on,
dormant.
Thank you.
And so we have to feed it. We have to exercise it. And so allowing kids in band, in graphic design, in sketching, to be an architect, another part of STEAM. You got to be able to draw. You have to be able to put those renderings together. How's the building going to look? Well, I don't know. Just pick something. No, somebody has to draw that.
Yes.
Somebody has to design it. And then, like when I work with the kids, I refer to them. You're architects. You're this. You're that. You're builders. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We did engineering the other day. You're engineers.
Yes.
I just off the spot created this song. I'm an engineer. I like to build, and they're repeating after me. And so I'm putting them in their head. Even with science, you know, the kid, oh, this is so cool, Miss Ina. We're doing this science activity. I had three little third grade boys the other day, all black. I want to be a scientist.
Yes.
This is the coolest thing.
Yes.
And so we have to expose,
Come
we have to
on.
introduce, they have to see what it is. Math. I make math fun.
Yes.
You know, I don't like math. You gonna like math when I finish with you.
Thank you very
know,
much.
and
That
so
is so
this
important.
that's how you teach. I'm not even, you know, a PhD or a doctor or whatever, but I know it makes sense.
Now, exactly. And you and I, at this moment, and Brother Louis George Walker, have the opportunity to be here at the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Saturday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
If there is a grandparent, a parent, a guardian, a foster parent who hears Ina P. Montgomery on this day, and they want their children to become involved in what you do, what is the age range, what is the procedure?
So I'm still developing my program for the fall.
Okay.
In fact, me and Mr. Louis George Walker will be working together.
Good.
We got a meeting coming up next week, and we're going to collaborate because when you create an ecosystem, as he and I are doing here in this building, there's no overlap. He does robotics. He does drones. He does this. He does that.
Wow.
And I have to give the shout out, as you gave my shout out. Mr. Walker has been out here.
Come on.
He was at Southeast High School. I remember going to those youth technology days before people even thought about youth technology days. I think he still worked for AT&T then. Southwest Bell is which one? South SB. Yeah.
And then it was AT&T.
Okay, so it was SBC. He's been out here.
Yes.
On this journey, on this walk, influencing kids, impacting their lives, you know, influencing the decisions they make for what they're going to major in college, you know. So, like I said, I've got to give that shout out.
Well, I'm glad you did, because I want to bring him in for a moment. We want to come back to 816-866-6340. But things are happening with KUAW.org.
Okay.
Let us together invite Louis George Walker to give us an update.
All right, yes, you're listening to KUAW Radio. That is Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom. We call it KUAW, Kansas City's global media outlet. This is where you get the best in smooth jazz, independent artists, local voices, and you can hear this broadcast on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. You can also hear it on the internet if you have the TuneIn app, Get Me Radio, my online radio box, or you can go to KUAW.org. And today, we want to announce this is the very first scheduled simul broadcast that we are collaborating with KOJH in the historic 18th and Vine Jazz District. So you can pick us up at 100.5 on your radio. KOJH, Kansas City's jazz leader, and we are glad to bring Cowboy to all the airways.
Thank you. And we are Wave Your Grades. And just for that moment, Ina P. Montgomery, I was trying to remember 816-866-6340. That
Yes,
is
sir.
a phone number.
Yes.
But once again, for those who are listening, and I know who want their children to become involved with you, once again, contact information. And if there are age restrictions or geographic restrictions or whatever that might be, who indeed can qualify to be with you.
Yeah, I am I'm the Harriet Tubman of technology.
Come on. Now
I
you're
will
talking.
free our
Thank you.
community through the use of technology. So
Thank
that's
you.
how I refer to myself.
Praise God.
And so that is
Praise
anybody who
God.
understands technology through. I just came from a community meeting, and
Okay.
I will be doing some digital skills training here this fall.
Yes.
It'll be open for anybody. It'll be a part of the FCC's Affordable Connectivity Program.
All right.
And so that program is targeted to residents who are 200% under the poverty level.
Okay.
And it'll
Okay.
get them $30 off their broadband bill at their
Okay.
house. And so,
Oh, wait a minute. Say that again.
yeah, $30 off of their broadband bill from any of the ISPs, internet
Yes.
service providers, whoever they're using. you get $30 off per month of your internet service. And so I'm going neighborhood by neighborhood looking for digital navigators. The digital navigators will be my contact within that community. I was with Santa Fe this morning. I've already been with Washington Wheatley. I've got all the other neighborhoods to connect with. And that is another way. When I look at the name of my organization, Urban Technology Empowered Communities,
yes,
I'm trying to empower communities through the use of technology. And so DBA, of course, do business as Urban Tech,
yes,
but it's the empowering. So having residents within each neighborhood that I can connect with, create digital navigators, train them, pay at $50 per hour. It may not be a lot of hours, but let's say you work for me 3 hours on a Saturday. That's $150 you didn't
sure.
have in your pocket.
Absolutely.
And you're
Absolutely.
giving information to your community. But again, I'll be doing some digital skills training here at the center this fall, working in collaboration with a young man who's been here forever, Harrison May.
Yes.
And that will be an opportunity not just to do, I'm going to do a training class here. No, let's get you on a career path.
Yes.
Let's get you trained so that you can have a workforce credential so you can come in 1 month, and after 9 or 12 months, after you get your workforce certification, you're now ready to start making $50,000 to $60,000 per year.
Thank you.
So this is not
Thank you.
happen chance. This is real.
Yes, ma'am.
This is real.
See, and this is the thing here again, Doc Bass, relevance of intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
This makes education relevant for everybody who is involved. And one of the questions that I have for you, now that I see your body of work, as it were, the number of things in which you are engaged and how you're going about it, Brother Walker and Sister Ina P. Montgomery, when she mentioned STEAM, we think about William Wells and a STEAM village. And when you talk about Louis George Walker, 5501 Swope Parkway, those who don't know the origins of KUAW.org, Brother Louis George Walker was way ahead of us some time ago. But you mentioned collaboration. Do you have opportunities for partners, for tutors, for mentors? Is there someone, you mentioned the young man, with whom you work, but suppose someone wants to volunteer and help, what role would they be playing?
816-866-6340. I am always in need. I'm sure as Mr. Walker, we always need volunteers, always. And so I have 2 spaces upstairs. One is my training room that I'm setting up to get ready for the fall. It needs to be organized. I have events out in the community where I always need volunteers. Just on a regular basis, just volunteers. I also, Monday through Friday, every day, 4 to 6, deliver my STEAM labs.
Yes.
Those are opportunities.
Every Monday.
Monday through Friday.
4 to 6.
Monday through Friday.
Every day of that
Every
week.
day, 4 to 6. Now
on.
that is a contract with Link after school program.
Yes.
I'm on my 6th year with them.
See?
I'm on my 6th year with them, and I tell people, they're like, well, how are you with Link for 6 years? Because I deliver quality programming.
Yes.
It's consistent. And it is, like I said, I'm in 4 different school districts with Link. And a lot of people don't know this because I'm not out bragging. I'm just out doing work, Mr. Boyd. That's all I do. So I'm in Grandview.
I know.
I'm in Center. I'm in KCPS. And I'm in Hickman.
That's what I'm talking about.
And so those are the 4 districts that I serve. I average probably anywhere from 20, 25 schools per school year. It's me right now. I do have another person who works for me.
Yes.
We get together every Sunday. Okay, what are we doing this week? For science. What are we doing for technology? What are we doing for engineering?
Yes.
And I was just at Border Star the other day with my little Ozobots, the little color coding robots. Those kids were just going crazy, So I like to have fun, and these are things that they're not getting in school.
Yes.
So I'm doing this in an after-school setting, engaging these kids, and so I love my STEAM labs. I have a good model for that. I'm looking to do something different next semester. What I've been trying to get to is having the teachers in the buildings deliver the program.
Ooh,
Yeah.
now that is so good.
Yeah.
And by the way, Louis George Walker, if you want to jump in, it looked a few minutes ago like you were getting ready to say something. I don't know, but please jump right in.
No, I will come in as time permits, but I definitely want to say that since we are broadcasting over the air, that those people that hear, if you want to call in, you can call into this show right now. If you have questions for Ina or for
All
Carl
right.
at 816-599-6893. We also have the chat line up. So if you chat on Facebook, go to KUAW Radio, and you can type in your question or type in a comment, and it will
yes.
show up on the screen so everybody can read it and see it. So just want to keep saying that we're glad that we're on the air with KOJH. My brother James McGee was listening to us. He knows that we're out there.
Wow.
And this is going to be a partnership that's really going to grow and I think bring good information to the city. So people like Ina Montgomery,
Wow,
I mean,
this
yeah,
is
we
so
get
good.
chances on television, we get chances to do bits here and there, but we want to make a regular airway that some of our local heroes and sheroes can come on and be able to talk about what's important to the community, because this isn't about violence. This isn't about sex, drugs, and alcohol.
Thank you.
This is about what this community needs. Science, technology, engineering,
This is so
arts,
wonderful.
math. So it's just, she is a practitioner.
Yes.
And there are others that are in the trenches that we don't often see.
Exactly.
But they're out there
Exactly.
working, bringing these STEM things to the city, to our kids. They're doing it at churches, they're doing it in the schools, they're doing it out of the schools.
Go ahead.
And we just need to give that recognition out there. So I want to say a big hats off to Ina and
Yes.
the work that she has been doing and
Please.
continues to do. It ain't over.
Exactly. Exactly.
And to the visionaries of W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center.
Well, good point.
Bill Grace and Leon Dixon and many others, Vern Glover and them that have
Yes.
poured into the community.
Exactly.
Oftentimes without recognition, coming out of their own pockets, spending their own money,
Yes.
but
All
trying
of
to
us.
make a difference in the community. So that's my soapbox. I'll jump off.
Oh, not at all. I appreciate that. 816-599-6893. 816-599-6893. Please, in fact, do call in. And by the way, Louis George Walker just mentioned heroes and sheroes. And Ina P. Montgomery knows something about the nature of Wave Your Grades. It just happens that we are asking American students to strive for excellence in honor of our troops. We are a program that seeks to honor veterans, but not in a vacuum. What we are suggesting is, if there are those who make sacrifices, if there are those who are militarily heroic, and that is not a singular observation, because you are proving, and many do every day, that you don't have to be military to be a shero, without a doubt. But those who do, I think, should come home to an improved society. I think that this sign should be considered an oxymoron. Homeless veteran. That just doesn't go together. So Wave Your Grades is making the attempt to motivate students to say, in one of the morning messages that I offer from time to time, and I have one for every day, it is, you cannot look in a hero's eyes and be a student who never tries. Because the idea is indeed to say to them, you do not serve in vain. You and I have been introduced to a gentleman, Al Winder, and there's the opportunity to do some work, again, collaboratively, Brother Louis George Walker, with his programs. What kinds of programs do you collaborate with?
Yeah, so we're working on the ACP, the Affordable Connectivity Program, together.
Wow.
He's doing his type of organizing. I'm doing my type of organizing, but it's the same mission.
Yes.
To get these households connected to the internet. When I initially, I think like last year, said, "Oh, I'm not doing broadband. That's none of my scope. I'm K through 12. This, that." And somebody said, "Well, guess what, Ina? if they're not connected to the internet, they can't do your training online.
My goodness.
So that made me a stakeholder.
Yes.
And so I jumped in the game, and I'm
Yes.
glad that I'm here. And so he and I will be, and he was supposed to, by the way, be here today, but he had
Exactly.
another commitment that came up. But yeah, I was looking forward to sharing the radio space with him.
All right.
To talk about the program that he has been organizing. And so what we've decided is, I think somebody said this morning, Ina, you always work solo. And it's like, yeah, I work by myself, but then I also know how to collaborate.
Exactly.
And so this is a great opportunity to collaborate. The city's engaged. It's federal, state, and local.
Okay.
So this is, and the game changer, which is honestly what everybody is positioning themselves for. The state of Missouri is expected to get $42 as in billion
Yes,
towards this effort.
Come on.
And so when you talk about closing the digital divide, this is the opportunity to actually get it right. I don't think the divide will ever all the way close.
Okay.
But it'll get the gap will get smaller with this funding that is expected to come. And so Mr. Winder's working on that initiative. I'm working on the initiative. Like I said, for me, my approach is neighborhood by neighborhood.
Yes.
Get these digital navigators, get these people signed up, get these households that are 200% below the poverty line. Let's get them online. And then, like I said, different people are taking different approaches. Mine is, let's get you some training.
Yes.
Let's get you some
Yes.
credentials so you can get a job.
Wow.
Again, paying $50,000-$60,000, and then you're on your own. And in addition to that, soft skills training, because I not only want you to get a job, I want you to keep a job.
Thank you.
And you keep that job with soft skills, showing up to work on time.
Yes.
Doing as you're asked. Not being, docile or anything, but, you have to have that mindset. I'm an employee.
Yes.
And so I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the opportunity to have the space here at the Learning Center to be that central location for the ACP and for digital skills so that people in the surrounding community can know whenever I come up with my schedule, okay, she's doing this now, she's doing that now. We can go to the Learning Center, we can learn this. And as I told the people, how does the computer work? How does the internet work?
Come on.
People don't know.
Come on.
All right, well then get ready for this fall.
Yes.
Because you're going to get some classes that'll
Yes.
teach you that basic information. You don't need to be, know all this stuff, but just the basics. So I'm excited about that.
Let me tell you why I'm excited just talking to you today and seeing the kinds of things you are doing and with whom.
Right.
Again, going back to age, when I think about my educational experiences, I think about how long we have been subjected to what we refer to as a cultural deficit model. And that cultural deficit model is when educators assume that because of your address, we've got to treat you like a child, and we have to assume that you are not going to go very far. Let's
Right.
see what we can do.
Right.
Ina P. Montgomery, you've got some surprises for those who think that because we are black in a certain neighborhood, that we have a cultural deficit from birth.
Right.
But you convince these young, but wait. The excitement is not only that Ina P. Montgomery convinces them of their worth and their talents and their intelligence, but the young people respond in kind and show that you're not just talking a motivation speech,
Right. Right.
but there are ways that they get to apply what they learn. Already, you've been doing this just a few years. Have you found that some of those who have gone ahead come back and share some of what they learned?
Yes, they do.
Come on.
Yeah. I mean, I actually served as adjunct with MCC for 12 years.
See there.
And so I still have students. I don't even remember them because I'll be
Yes.
60 next month.
Watch out.
And so, hey, Miss Montgomery, remember me? And I'm looking at them with the blank face like,
I
okay,
understand.
yeah.
I understand.
And so, and I was dropping gems then, do this, do that, do this, do that. And they
Yes.
weren't listening.
Yes.
And then they do see me those years
Ooh.
later saying, I sure wish I would have listened to you. And one, again, I know people always say they have these stories, but I tried with this one girl. Listen to me, do this, do that. And, you know, these young kids think they know it all. Mm-hmm. I see her a couple of years later working at Starbucks at the airport. And she's like, you remember me, Miss Montgomery? So good to see you. I'm like, it's good to see you too. She says the first thing out of her mouth, I sure wish I would have listened to you.
My God.
She said, do you know I have to catch 2 buses?
Yes, ma'am.
At, I think, 5:30 in the morning to get here by 9. And then my mother has to come pick me up.
My Lord.
And that's if her car is working right.
Yes.
She said, it's really been a struggle. And I said, well, you couldn't get any jobs? She said, this is the only job I could get. I applied all those other jobs knowing that I did not have transportation. And she said, I just wish I would have listened to you. And I never say, you know, told you so or anything like that.
No.
Oh, I said, you still have an opportunity.
Thank you very much.
You still have an opportunity. This does not have to be it.
Yes.
Here's my number.
Ooh, really?
If you would like, oh, yeah. Here's my number.
Okay.
If you want, because I'm a lifeline.
My goodness.
These kids are out there, Mr. Boyd. You know they don't know what to do.
Come on.
And they're not getting it from their families. Here's my number. If you want to change whatever you're doing, if you want that, call me. I will sit down with you. We will come up with a plan. Never heard from her.
My Lord.
Never heard from her.
Let me tell you what you are proving just in that offer to her. Mm-hmm. When we began the program, you mentioned Harriet Tubman. Mm-hmm. And if I recall correctly, I don't remember anybody ever saying that Harriet Tubman had a degree in engineering. Mm-hmm. I don't remember Harriet Tubman matriculating a law degree at Yale University. Mm-hmm. But Harriet Tubman and Ina P. Montgomery help us to know the difference between getting an education and schooling. And you are educating young people and making that offer to her. And the reason I thought back about Harriet Tubman, when Harriet Tubman said get on board, she didn't necessarily have a map that she Googled, but she knew that the purpose of gaining freedom was so acute that we're going to find a way. So here you go ahead.
But
please.
What was her famous quote? I always mess it up. She said, I could have freed more if they knew they were enslaved. I'm messing it up. You have to Google it afterward, but that was her quote, and that's what I live by. These kids, I could save more kids, but they don't know. Not so much what they don't know, but they don't know technology is your way out. Ooh. Technology is the future. I didn't mention I have my next gen technology program. That's drones, that's esports,
my goodness,
virtual reality, artificial intelligence. I was lucky enough to receive one of the Rebuild KC grants that went out last year. I'm a recipient of that. I'm about to start my programming,
Lord.
Working with schools, because those are the careers of the future. That's what our kids need to know. And so I wish I knew that quote, but I live by that Harriet Tubman quote.
Well,
she could have freed more people, but they didn't know they were enslaved.
My goodness.
And then I was trying to think of the Malcolm X quote, too, about education.
Yes, but...
And he said it many moons ago, and it's still relevant, 2023.
Well, when we open the program next Saturday, we're going to open with those 2 quotes. I don't know whether Harriet Tubman said they didn't know they were enslaved or they didn't know they weren't slaves. But absolutely.
Yeah.
And most of the time, Brother Lewis George Walker, when those who have a more militant bent talk about Malcolm X's quote, by any means necessary. And that is also relevant in terms of what you are saying, because what he was suggesting was when we talk about liberation, you don't have to have a curriculum guide. We will do this by whatever means we have available to us. And I honestly, I mentioned how long you and I have known each other because Generation Rap started in 1987. Had no idea how engaged you were from so many fronts, but most importantly, from the technology front. because at my age, I might make the mistake
Mm-hmm.
that I have some intelligence or even the audacity to say wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
But if I want to get from point A to point B,
Mm-hmm.
I have to look at somebody you taught to go this way.
Mm-hmm. Right, right.
And these youngsters not only have knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
but you are orienting them towards intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And I can appreciate that
Mm-hmm.
so very, very much.
Mm-hmm.
So between now, I don't know how much time we have, Brother Lewis
Oops.
George Walker.
Mm-hmm.
And
About
the, oh,
10.
that's outstanding because
Mhm.
the next time we get together, it will be with Brother Wanda. And
Okay.
he and I did talk today.
Okay.
And he was speaking in glowing terms. And he
Mhm.
said during the course of our conversation, and he was in a hurry,
Mm-hmm.
but
mm-hmm.
4 times he said, I want to work with her.
Mm-hmm.
And the scope of his work, and you did mention something with a B. What was that you mentioned that it was not an M?
Oh yeah, the
But-
B as in billion. The B as in billion.
See?
And so, you know,
My God.
yeah, it's no joke money, and like I said, it can make a difference in our communities if implemented right. And that's the I would say that's the issue right now. I was on a call the other day, and everybody's got their own little plan about what to do, and there's power in numbers.
Without a doubt.
But you've got people, everybody wants to be a kingpin.
Mm.
And so I said in the call, I have no interest in being a kingpin.
Come on.
I have an interest in this money that will be coming to Kansas City having an effect for our communities.
And one of the things that you make me mindful of is the power
Mm-hmm.
of positive assumption.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is, as a people,
Mm-hmm.
so often we continue to celebrate
Mm-hmm.
being the first, or celebrate
Mm-hmm.
being the only, or celebrate the acquisition of that B.
Okay.
But when Ina P. Montgomery
Mm-hmm.
starts them at a young age,
Mm-hmm.
assuming
Mm-hmm.
that they can do this,
Mm-hmm.
that they have the intelligence,
Mhm.
that they have the power,
Mhm.
that we can come together, and what they don't know,
Mm-hmm.
they can learn simply based upon what you do when you are together,
Right.
and say, what did you get out of this?
Mm-hmm.
The video might be 12 minutes long or an hour and 20 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
But when this is over and we discuss it,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to tell me something.
Something. I need everybody engaged. You saw something, and then some of them see things that is there, but from that little baby's perspective, I'm like, wow, you saw that.
Yes.
You know, yeah,
Yes.
Miss Ina. And I mean, it just, like I said, they just blow me away. I just love it.
Listen, this is so very important because it is important to start young,
Mm-hmm.
because that's when you develop habits. And they begin to assume
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that they can learn these things. Well, what makes you think you can learn that? Because Miss Ina
Mm-hmm.
had us do this last week.
Mm-hmm. It's the 4 C's that I promote that somebody told me the other day that are dated, but they're still, for me, relevant. 4 C's: communication,
Mm-hmm.
collaboration,
Mm-hmm.
creativity,
Mm.
critical thinking.
All right.
And that was my biggest thing. And actually, critical thinking is why I left higher education and came down, if you will, to the
Oh.
K-12 level.
Okay.
Because when those kids are in my class and I'm asking, tell me why the sky is blue, or give me your
Yes.
nothing.
See,
Crickets.
See, this is
And no critical thinking whatsoever. And then they're making no ability to do deductive reasoning. If A, B, C, D, you should be able to say, well, it's not A because of this. It's not. They were not able to do that, Mr. Boyd. It used to frustrate me.
Let me give you a typical passage. 7th and 8th grade science.
Mm-hmm.
Someone opens a science book in my class,
Mhm.
and they read a sentence like this. Because they want us to understand
Mm-hmm.
how tiny a molecule is.
Okay.
So the sentence reads, there are as many molecules
Mm-hmm.
on the head of a needle
Mm-hmm.
as there are grains of sand
Mm-hmm.
on all the beaches in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So that helps us to understand how small a molecule is.
Right.
So I have a student read that sentence,
Mm-hmm.
And they get ready to go on, and I say, hold on a minute, please. Will you read that again? There are as many molecules on the head of a needle as there are grains of sand on all the beaches in the world. Then I say to my student, do you believe that? And the student says, yes, sir. Why do you believe it? Because it was in the book. And then I say, who do you think counted all the grains of sand and all the beaches in the world? Oh, Mr. Boy, nobody counted that. So I said, be careful how you read what you read.
Right.
So now let's talk about what it really means.
Right.
But if it is a science class, then we've got to do some deductive reasoning to understand who we are and what it is about.
Right.
So I don't know if you could hear in the background, but it appears that was that a call having to do with something here or something else?
Yes, I got a call in from a listener that knows you very well.
That sounds like someone who's wonderful.
Yes. But she said she did look it up, and that Harriet Tubman's quote was, "I would have freed more slaves had they only known they were slaves."
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, listener. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, that just resonated with me. You know, I can free more kids through the use of technology if they would know. How do I word that? If they would know that technology was their way.
Yes.
To get out.
Yes. If you knew that you were bound.
Right. By not knowing.
Thank you.
Then you could be freed by knowing.
Well,
yeah, appreciate that caller.
Wonderful Wanda.
Yeah.
We thank you very
we
much.
We impacted one person.
I always tell people that this is Wave Your Grades, and we have at least 7 listeners, unless Wanda's washing her hair. So she was listening today. As we come to the close of the program, any contact information, any final observations you want to make before we get off?
Yeah, so Ina Montgomery, Urban Tech, doing, Urban Technology Empowered Communities, doing business as Urban Tech, 816-866-6340. You can email me at connect, CONNECT, at urbantech.org. And I just got to give glory to God because I've been out here for I don't know how long. He's been my help. That's the song I listen to every day, you know, when I look around and I'm by myself and I'm doing everything. And people say, I know you're doing too much. And I say, no, too much is given, much is required. And so he knows how much I can bear, and he has not taken me there yet with it. So I just keep doing. And people don't understand. Seriously, I met with my business coach yesterday. He's like, I just don't get how you do at the level of detail that you do. And I said, it's what he gifted me with.
Praise God.
And
that is so important.
He's my strength. That's all I know. You know, I'm not the best person. I'm not the best Christian. I'm not a Bible scholar, but I believe in him. I believe in what he has done through his son for me and my life, and that's what I do.
Praise
that's
God.
What I do.
We appreciate you so very much. We are looking forward to that next visit.
Thank you.
And believe me, we are looking forward to the publication of that
A Day with Edie.
Say that again.
A Day with Edie is the book.
A Day with Edie. I want to remember that.
Yes.
Outstanding. Thank you so very much.
Thank
Ina
you
P.
for having
Montgomery.
me.
You are welcome. We are coming to the end of the program, and we are congratulating and waving at DeQuay Wilson. She is our producer, our engineer, and co-host on vacation. So she will not be closing us out. I will be allowed to close us out today. Also, by the way, Carlton Ridley celebrated his 75th birthday last night, and we had an opportunity to go, and it was filled with friendship members. And Carlton Ridley is one of the icons who has helped others become icons, so we congratulate him. Thank you very much for tuning in to Wave Your Grades on KUAW.org. I am Carl Boyd, gracious God and wonderful Wanda. I'm on my way home.